Hey everyone, welcome back to our channel. If you're new here, please subscribe. I'd really love that. If you're returning, how you doing? What we're going to talk about right now is something that we haven't touched on in a while, and it's East Palestine. You know, this administration, not only do they not care about the horrific suffering of the residents of East Palestine, Ohio, they seem to revel in it. And just remember that they refused outright assistance to the town for weeks following the train derailment and the explosion. You know, the EPA, they ordered Norfolk Southern to pause the cleanup after the derailment that happened on February 3rd. Did you know that? And they claim, the EPA, they claim the stop would just be temporary. No. So we all watched the coverage, right, of the scientists, Purdue scientists, and the students going there and testing this and testing that. And they studied over 300 samples in and around East Palestine, Ohio in March. And in February, state and federal officials, they decided to blow up 6 rail cars of chemicals in the town after a train derailment. And this resulted in a toxic chemical mushroom cloud over the region. And the toxic explosion caused animal and plant life to die off over 100 miles downstream from East Palestine, Ohio. So Purdue investigators were on site, and they were collecting samples after the toxic explosion. And Pittsburgh researchers found low levels of 6 different carcinogens that the EPA did not detect. So in March, the EPA chief, Michael Regan, he warned Ohio parents to keep their children out of the local creeks and streams following the toxic chemical mushroom, the cloud explosion in early February. And, you know, 46, he's never even visited the disaster site. No. So the EPA will not clean up the toxic chemical spill in East Palestine until next year. Or if ever, really. So this administration knows that these poor people will not vote for him, and or any other radicals, you know, Democrats. So there you have it, you know, and it's really sad. But there's another story that's attached to this that I don't think anybody really knows about. Take a listen.
Hi, Elizabeth. New independent testing finds more and more harmful chemicals here, but the EPA says they're not concerned. So to make sense of this, we traveled to a town that found itself in a similar predicament 4 decades ago, and it just may offer a glimpse into the future here. 3 months after officials here burned 5 tank cars full of vinyl chloride over East Palestine and toxic smoke blanketed the region.
I'm ready. Let's get out of here.
Shelby Walker, whose home is 900 feet from the derailment, was diagnosed with vinyl chloride in her system. She begged the EPA to test her home, her soil.
The EPA has not tested my house, my soil, nothing.
Why do you think they're not going to test here?
Because they know. They know, and they don't want nobody else to know what's really out here.
But independent testing expert Scott Smith did test, and he shared the results exclusively with News Nation. And what did you find?
We found total dioxins of 2.5 parts per billion.
Dioxins, the most carcinogenic compounds on the planet. To put dioxin levels of 2.5 parts per billion in context, we traveled 630 miles away to Times Beach, Missouri.
This is what used to be Times Beach. This is Old Highway 66.
Right here.
This was a liquor store and a tavern.
Marilyn Leisner was the last mayor of Times Beach.
They told us on December 23rd, 1982, that if we were in our homes, not to leave, and if we were out, not to come back.
In the 1970s, the roads of Times Beach were sprayed with oil to contain the dust, but they were contaminated by dioxin. 10 years later, the EPA and the CDC found the dioxins in the soil there. Quote, of 255 samples, levels of dioxin in a few yards and in one home show levels greater than 1 part per billion and less than 5 parts per billion. The government permanently relocated every resident, bought all the properties after the CDC advised it was necessary because, quote, the hazard posed by dioxin contamination is a continuing threat to health of citizens in the community.
There were 2,242 residents, 801 families, 28 businesses, 4 churches, 2 taverns, and 4 churches.
Everybody evacuated.
Yes.
Today, it's wild, overgrown. You'd never know it was once a city.
Beautiful lawns, landscaping, where the homes were. If you go through here certain times of the years, you can still see flowers, irises, and we talked about
from people's homes.
Yes, naked ladies and the things. My dad planted Rose of Sharon trees.
From above, 28 miles of roads practically invisible. Everything bulldozed and put into this trench, now 5 football fields long, what they call Town Mound. Today, though, Leisner is focused not on what she is seeing here, but in East Palestine, Ohio.
I cannot believe they are leaving people within 10 feet of the site of the derailment.
You think the same thing should happen in East Palestine that happened here?
Absolutely. They need to remove those people from the threat.
No doubt about it.
No doubt about it.
Remember, Shelby Walker's results were 2.5 parts per billion, in the same range as Times Beach.
Our yard's not safe. I know our home's not safe. It hasn't been from day one.
How does it make you feel?
It sickens me, but it does not surprise me. Just as much bogus and bullcrap as we are getting from everybody, we don't know who to trust anymore. Clearly, we can't trust the EPA. We sure the heck can't trust Norfolk Southern for nothing. And our government's not here for us, so where do we turn, where do we go?
Now, I asked the EPA in writing about Shelby Walker's test results and whether they would now test her soil. They would not answer those questions, but invited Ms. Walker to share her results with them.
All right, guys, that's all for this video. Okay. You know, I hope that you guys were able to link the 2 stories together. Okay. Because it's blatantly obvious. But like I always say, do your own research, okay? Because that's the most important thing that you can do for you, not just for yourself, okay? But just to educate yourself on what's really going on, okay? All right, you guys stay safe, you stay positive, you keep prepping. And as always, fear less. Ciao.